Hello, and welcome to the third episode of our IoT and AI podcast series. My name is Bhavesh Patel, and I head up the IoT and AI division at Ingram Micro UK. Today I'm joined by Dave Lister, Managing Director at IAconnects Technology, and Simon Johnson, UK Sales Manager at EnOcean. Welcome, gentlemen. Good to have you with us today.
Good morning.
Morning. So IoT-driven smart building technology is delivering a multitude of benefits for businesses of all sizes, as we all know. At Ingram Micro, we offer a holistic and integrated approach to connect, control, and manage intelligent connected buildings. Whilst we're adopting a digital transformation mindset, and adopting IoT solutions, they normally do result in lowered operational costs, which is always something that we have at the forefront of our minds when we go out talking about these solutions. And this does enable us to come up with good ROI, maximizing performance, staff performance, as well as bringing more value to the floor space. It also enables us to analyze the data retrospectively, as well as in real time, to build, adapt, and evolve this working environment. And I'm sure we all don't realize it, but actually a lot of the buildings today are already intelligent. It's just that we don't know it. And I hope that we, with the conversation that we'll have shortly, with the panel, we can actually uncover where some of these use cases can be implemented, what sort of benefits we can get from this technology, and what sort of real-world business problems it helps us resolve. So with that being said, let's make a start. Thanks again for joining us, gents. Let's start with Dave Lister with an introduction.
Morning. Thanks, Bhavesh. So, I'm really pleased to be here. I am Dave Lister, as you've already said. I am the MD of a company called IAconnects Technology Limited. We are, I guess I like to think of as we are at heart, I suppose, a systems integrator, but we are slightly different in the fact that we develop our own software and hardware solutions where required to run in parallel with market leading and technology leading products from our peers in industry, such as Simon, for example.
Great. That's good entry there for Simon.
Slick.
Simon.
Yeah, Dave, thanks for that. Simon, thanks for joining us today. Really pleased to have you with us, and we definitely want to hear a lot more about EnOcean. But for starters, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, no problem. So Simon Johnson, UK Sales Manager for EnOcean. I've been with them for around about 18 months. Prior to that, I was also with a controls company, experience in electrical industry, and obviously now work for two German controls companies, experience in controls and automation. EnOcean specifically radio-based solution, and a strong manufacturer of kinetic switches and energy harvesting sensors.
Great. Thanks, Simon. So let's begin then. So if we start from the ground up, and I know kind of this is a base level stuff, I guess, but why don't we just start with what is IoT-enabled intelligent connected building technology about, and can we offer some examples to our listeners? Dave, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of alluded to it then in your introduction. I think, so many people have buildings that are already IoT enabled, they just don't know it. And I think that's a common theme among people in our industry that like to think we know what we're talking about. The concept of an IoT enabled building is literally just using data that's readily available inside any space and utilizing that data for the good, monitoring energy consumption, monitoring the space, the behaviors, and increasing your efficiencies and in theory, increasing your return on your investment. The demarcation point is what already exists in there, and then what we add to those buildings retrospectively really is what it is. And I have to say, I think, for a lot of people, they just don't know they already have IoT data available because a lot of them are afraid to try and ask what is IoT. IoT in its own right is is given a tag that's been used now for many years, but a lot of people still struggle with the concept of what is this Internet of Things. I mean, I think if they'd originally just called it connected stuff, life would have been a lot simpler for a lot of people understanding it, and that would have helped drive acceptance. So, in the first instance, it's getting people to understand what this IoT and IIoT thing is, and letting them understand that it's already there. And as as professionals in this industry, that's our job, is primarily education, and then move on to grown-up solutions to help them out.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And in terms of the sort of solutions that you've implemented, and I know we have as well here, are you seeing a greater demand for such technologies to help with whether it's compliance or moving to sort of hybrid workplaces? How do you think it's sort of playing out now?
Yeah, definitely. It's been driven, listen, we live in a strange world, and it's not what it was, for sure. And when myself and Simon were talking to customers last year, we toured the country. Simon will agree, we went from Land's End to John O'Groats with this solutions, talking to people, but it was always a bit of a tough sell. It was always trying to get people to take on board something that they'd heard of, and they thought it might have been a good idea, but there was still some reluctance. And really now it's very different. You actually have the same customers coming back to you now going, do you remember that thing we spoke about 12 months ago? I think we should do that. And that enablement piece, I think, is really, really relevant for us at this moment in time. So the market is helping us. Given a choice, I'd rather not have had COVID and just carried on pushing it the way we did, but we have to live with it, and we have to understand that it is driving us, and it needs to be a force to drive good and change, and that's what we need to do with it.
No, very, very much so. And I think I've definitely experienced many interactions now with customers where it can play many different roles. And I think I definitely see compliance as is one that can help with take away the kind of usual idea of lots of people driving out to these buildings just for compliance checks, right? That in itself, there's a green message there. I think it can help reduce the sort of carbon footprint, as well as speed up the kind of compliance, as well as any maintenance that's required around it. Just moving on, if we, just maybe bring Simon into the conversation. We see a great synergy between ourselves, IAconnects, and this EnOcean partnership. Perhaps Simon can share a little bit about the collaboration efforts that you have with the partners you make, and what makes EnOcean so different. I think that there are some good, really good things to share about EnOcean, so I think that'd be good to hear.
For sure. So we really have, I guess, two USPs. Our first would be that we manufacture energy harvesting devices. So our devices, or our modules, take their energy from the environment, be it light, artificial or natural light, be it kinetic, the way our switches work using the actual physical movement of touching the push button or the switch, and then heat. So the Peltier effect, we can harvest energy by the difference in heat of around about 2 or 3 degrees. So a few of our partners manufacture radiator valves that work off purely heat differential. The magic radiator valve. They work in a similar way to the little fans that you quite often see on the top of a log burning stove. That operate because of heat differential. So our USB number one is certainly that we manufacture energy harvesting devices, no lithium, and that's got to be a great solution when the damaging effect of digging out minerals from the ground is not good. About lithium, you've then got the issue, if you have batteries in a device, of replacing those batteries and disposing of those batteries. So we win on both fronts, at the initial installation and then the maintenance of that device. And our second USP is the fact that because we're a provider of technology, we supply our modules to around about 400 other companies who manufacture EnOcean-enabled devices. So we're an open protocol solution. There are hundreds of manufacturers and thousands of devices that will all talk to one another and talk via IAconnects gateway, for instance. So we're not a one-trick pony. We're not a single manufacturer with a single radio standard. And if you want to use our products, you're stuck with what we manufacture. There's a huge array of devices out there that you can choose that will probably fulfill pretty much everything you need in a commercial or domestic environment.
Yeah, no, thanks, Simon. And I definitely see that. I think the ease of deployment is one. The fact that interoperability is something that you just touched on there, which does enable the overall ecosystem and solution to reach out to many different plays out there.
For sure. I mean, the argument always was that, if you get a piece of copper to something, get a piece of copper there because it works. But there's a lot of occasions now where getting a piece of copper to somewhere is very expensive or impossible. Certain buildings where they just will not allow you now to drill holes, run cables, chase walls. There's definitely a place for wireless.
The drive for offsite manufacturing as well, Simon, I think is one that's become really relevant for us. This ability to non-invasive, arrive on a truck, let's get it in, build it offsite, keep people in a safe environment. There's so many health and safety boxes that are ticked in that MMC and offsite manufacturing space, and the ability to have products that can do that. And we, that's why we gravitate to these. When people like Bhavesh come to us with a big global provider in a big space and they want to talk about an application and they want to show us how to do it, we have to make some suggestions. If that space is in any way reusable, then why wouldn't we? We have that where in multi-story, multi-tenanted buildings, when somebody wants all their offices round and then the next person comes in and they want them all square, the ability just to take all the devices off the wall, throw them in a box and stick them back up later on is completely invaluable.
Yeah.
And that retrofit space, Bhavesh, I know we've looked at student accommodation, we've looked at medical applications, hospital applications, where you can't realistically consider installing the infrastructure in the way that it used to be. There is no space for additional cable tray, conduit in walls, chopping out, cleaning up. All of these things are just not, they're just kind of frowned upon these days. And why would you if you can get away with it?
Yeah, I think buildings will be different going forward. As you say, we won't have set structures, set offices fixed for life. They will change, they will adapt depending on, certainly the scenario we're in now with coronavirus. Things will change.
Agreed.
So to repurpose an office block or a building or a canteen or whatever it may be without the need to draw in cables is just fundamental now in any building.
Yeah, sorry, go on, Dave.
I'm just going to say, and listen, we're here to talk about IoT and the benefits of IoT. If you, Simon, if you sell me a switch and you sell me a PIR and a Lux sensor and some other EnOcean devices that goes into forming a solution for one of Bhavesh's customers, all of a sudden, I've not just got an insular silo of kit performing a function. I've got data derived from those devices about usage that's valuable to you as the manufacturer, to me as the SI in terms of performance, to Bhavesh's customers because they want to understand those spaces and the efficiency of those products. And the fact that we can derive that data free of charge from those devices, feed that into smarter asset management systems and analysis really plays beautifully into IoT. I can't do that with a wired light switch in its traditional fashion, So we're creating IoT solutions and we're making baseline, really simple functions IoT enabled. And that's the thing that people have to get their head around is I'm not just buying a switch that gives me all the goodness that you've just described. I'm buying a device that enables me to monitor the progress of that device and add it to my smart asset register moving forward as a useful tool that's also creating valuable data, because we all know I've never figured out how to leverage it, but we know that data is valuable.
And that data couldn't be used by other sectors in that business as well. I guess the compliance guys can pick up that data, the FM guys can pick up that data. It's not just restricted to the controls.
100%.
Yeah,
that data can be spread around the building for loads of different features, functions, energy saving, cost saving, proactive FM.
Yeah, so there are two sides to this, right? One is, as you said, value of the data. Where does it give ROI? How does it make the whole business efficient. But there are other things that I think we also need to be mindful of for, FM companies, for instance, as well, is that it changes the revenue model, right? Because it's going to become more towards an as a service type model, for one, and that's something that we may have to discuss another time. But that's what it does. But in a good way, because I think it enables them to use their technicians and engineering staff more for the qualitative stuff, as opposed to just going out and doing some compliance checks, right? So I think that's one good benefit, which we can cover in a lot more detail another time. And the other thing that we could cover off in terms of how things are moving on due to COVID is a hybrid workplace, how IoT-enabled buildings and sensing technologies, as well as software applications, are changing or allowing us, when we do go back to work, a different way of working, right, which we call hybrid workplace. So I think we could definitely cover that off another time. But for now, let's just move along and see, in terms of the current sort of projects you guys are working on, where you are implementing and seeing the sort of results that you're seeing. Can you just maybe share what sort of verticals fit well? And I know that we could take these solutions to any vertical probably anyway, but I think just to box it a little bit in terms of the solution and where it would go, maybe Dave or Simon, one of you can pick that up.
I think, I think both of us could. I mean, for me, I guess if you put me on the spot and go, look, what's your turnover look like for the last 6 months and where have you been successful? From our point of view, weirdly enough, office space and office space utilization is still top of the agenda, and it's still where it's coming from, because yes, it's had a COVID feel. People now, the button that I used to install to let the FM team know that the coffee machine is empty is now letting the FM team know that the hand sanitizer is empty, but it can still be used for the same thing at a later date. The fact that they're measuring the volume of people in enclosed spaces is still there, but there is the really shrewd and the customers that know what they're doing. They've got one eye on it that's going, okay, I might have to reduce my overall space by 50% in the future, but when I do reduce it by 50%, I'm going to have to be really cute about how I measure it. Because if people start drifting back in again, we don't want to get caught out with not enough space because we made a knee-jerk reaction at that point. Yeah. And that's the value. The value is I've got COVID-esque coverage and compliance, and I can confidently bring my people back into the space and demonstrate that we're doing everything that we possibly should. But in 12 months' time, 18 months' time, 2 years' time, whatever it would happen to be, firstly, they know that those sensors and those solutions can be used again, and secondly, they're prepped for the future. Because I think we've spoken about this collectively outside of this call, and we've all agreed that there is going to be a COVID 2.0, 3.0, 4.0 in the future.
Yeah.
And ready for it. So for me, nothing's really changed. It's I might have a little red and green light on my price list now, like that I never had before, but fundamentally, my business is still the same, Bhavesh.
Good. Yeah. And Simon?
Sorry, office utilization was all that we were talking about. Probably if we go back 6-8 months and meetings I've had with Dave and other partners, it was very much about using your office space as efficiently as possible. We're still looking at that, but with the different hat on of how coronavirus will affect that going forward. So as Dave says, nothing really has changed. Mm-hmm. The low-hanging fruit was always this space utilization. I think maybe the results and the reasons why have slightly changed, but the actual deployment of the sensors and the technology that IAconnects can offer is exactly the same now as it was 12 months ago. Yeah, we've just added. In reality, we've added traceability on the end of what we did before. What was an instantaneous view before, with any historical data and historical review that was applied to what we were doing was done predominantly for kind of digital twin and management purposes. And now it's the same thing, but it's just got a different title. Now it's compliance and traceability and proving the point that when it hits the fan, you can go, I did everything I could. Yeah. I think COVID space utilization monitoring will be a bit like your emergency lighting testing. It will become it will become a requirement in the back of your handbook.
Yeah, no, I think I totally agree with that. And, knowing exactly how many desks you've got, which ones are free, who's going to be attending on any given day, what meeting rooms are available, is there enough parking? I mean, we are moving to a different environment, and there are technologies that we've just discussed today, which we could be using, and in addition to that, you do need some software layers which come in to make it a kind of cohesive piece with all of these things coming together. So yeah, we can definitely cover that off another time. Dave, you also mentioned, you talk about sanitizers, right? I mean, you have IoT connectivity with those. In fact, we actually stock those and sell them so that they actually monitor how much is getting used and when is it going to run out, right? And they're very solidly made too, so that they're not held together with sellotape.
Look at Bhavesh sneaking a little plug in there. Simon, did you see it?
Yeah. No, you gave me the lead.
I'm not sure. Come to Ingram Micro for your hand sanitizer is the global message, but let's run with it.
No, that's just a bit of a funny thing to talk about, I guess. So, but yeah, no, look, I think jointly with the work we're doing, there is still buildings out there which are occupied. Whilst a lot of the office spaces are not, but a lot of the employers who would like to get their staff back when we are all getting back, I think are trying to put some of these things in place, right? So I think that's where we continue to work with them. Okay, I think we're going to be closing out there. We've covered enough for today. So just in closing, I'd like to say, look, at Ingram Micro, we're definitely creating an ecosystem which can help all of you with all these different solutions in the different verticals that we have, and we have created, if you like, propositions which talk to the different verticals that you all may be working in, right? And so it's allowed us to develop a flexible as well as a scalable ecosystem, and we work with the likes of IAconnects as well as EnOcean to bring this together, right? And we're here to help you with that. So I think Dave and Simon, that was a good conversation to have. I think we could talk lots more, but we did say that we didn't want to make it more than 15 minutes. I think we already are, right? So thanks for your time today, both Dave and Simon. Thanks to all of you for listening, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay up to date with all things Ingram Micro, and catch up with some of our previous episodes if you want on sustainability and asset tracking as well. And if you have any potential solutions or customers you want to engage us with, then we'd be very happy to talk to you. So please call your account manager, and they'll put you in touch with us. Okay, thanks very much, Dave and Simon.